This is Inside Badger Football with head coach Trey Shucker. Inside Badger Football is brought to you by Bell Wealth Services, Welch Funeral Home, Wingfield Properties, Southern Bancorp, Southwest Sporting Goods, Turner, Rogers, Manning, and Plyler, Taylor King Law, Trinity Temple Assembly of God, Doctors Rob and Gary Rucker, Eccles, Thompson, and Kneebone CPA, South Central Connect, Java Primo, Southwest Auto Group, R&T Dixon Enterprises, Ludwig's Bakery, the law offices of Gina White, Patterson Federal Credit Union, Batson Signs, Print Mania, Scott Bird DDS, Sexton Law Firm, Chad Kesterson Shelter Insurance, Chicken Express, Pediatrics Plus, and Providence Veterinary Care. The host of Inside Badger Football is Cooper Darr.
Welcome back to Inside Badger Football. Joining me, as always, head coach Trey Shucker. Good to see you, Coach.
Hey, good to see you, too. Glad I'm here.
Yes, sir. Well, we are back with episode 2 of Inside Badger Football. Last week was our first show, kind of getting used to it. Still getting used to it a little bit with, I'm the new guy here. You've been here a while.
Yeah.
So enough with all of that. I want to talk about last week's game just a little bit. Obviously, it wasn't the outcome that we wanted. But they were a great team, big 6A team. But let's talk about Lake Hamilton a little bit. Let's talk about how good y'all started. How did y'all start, Coach?
Yeah, just going into the game, we knew that Lake Hamilton's good at what they do. They run the wing tee, gun tee. They've gotten to where they can throw the ball a little bit more than what they've done in the past. They're a well-respected program in 6A West. And we knew it would be a good matchup for us, but when you go against a team like that that's as heavy run as they are, you've got to play from ahead. It's very difficult to get behind. Going into it, we're trying to stay ahead. If you can get ahead on a team like that, it kind of forces them to do things that they don't really want to do, but we weren't able to do that against them. We kind of fell behind, and then, against, like I said, their power run team, when you fall behind like that, that clock starts ticking even faster, and they start slowing down a little bit more, and so that time kind of falls off on you. But I was proud of how our kids responded. We want to be the type of team that plays 4 quarters of football regardless of what the score says. I think that's one thing that we try to make our DNA about is to beat us, you got to play 4 quarters of football all the way to the very end, and I thought we showed some of that on Friday. Just
like you said, y'all didn't quit all 4 quarters of football, and now they are a super old wing tee, gun tee offense. It's an older style of offense, not normally the spread offense that the Badgers run or anything like that.
Right.
So obviously, it's a little new, little weird.
It is different for our kids because when you go against some of the modern offenses, you kind of get in that kind of mindset of how you read your keys on defense. And then you go against them, it's so much different than what you see on a normal basis. It just kind of changes up some rules that we have defensively, and we've got to do different things. And so there's a lot to prepare for within a week's time when you go against a team like Lake Hamilton, especially whenever a team like Lake Hamilton, they do it so well. They're probably one of the best teams that run the wing tee in the state. And, they're very respected on how they do it. And they do it well. And so, a lot of credit to those guys. They did a great job Friday. We did some things really well. There's still a lot of things that we can improve on. And then one thing to be proud of is at the end of the game, we still felt like we had an opportunity to come back and win. It's a moral victory. We're not really about that, but I was proud at how our kids played the entire game.
For sure. You mentioned how they didn't quit, and it was a football game the whole game, and it was really a great game to watch. And I'm sure those guys have learned a lot from this week. I want to go ahead and look at the highlights from Lake Hamilton. We're going to look at each quarter individually. So as they come up on the screen, and we'll look at the first quarter, the second quarter, third, and then the fourth, obviously.
Yeah.
So here it is with the first quarter. Kind of got the guys. You got the young guys running. Yeah,
we had some of the peewee or the kids camp guys that come out to our kids camp. We allowed them to run through. That's part of the deal was if they came to our kids camp, they got a T-shirt, and then if they wore their T-shirt to the game, they were able to run through with us. And so that was really cool to have the younger kids come out, go through the run through. Just excited to see those future Badgers come down and get a head start running through the run-through with us.
That's awesome. I always remembered whenever I was a young guy at my high school and running through all that stuff, it really makes a big difference and makes me want to stay in that program.
Yeah,
for
no
a long
doubt.
time.
And that's the thing is, get those kids excited about being a Badger football player one day, and keep them coming to the game, showing up, and getting excited about it.
That's right. So we're looking at kickoff return right here. Big return. Looks like that's Jay Purifoy.
Yeah, this was a really good way to start the game. We wanted to create some good field position. We thought we could with our return unit. And, Jay did a really good job of getting up the field, got to his blocks, and got up the field to create a good field position to start the game off.
Coach, you had a new quarterback for this game. Talk about a little bit of what y'all thought beforehand against Lake Hamilton. What was kind of the game plan for this first quarter?
Yeah, so we do have a new quarterback in from the past couple weeks. Maddox Finley came in. Maddox Finley has been a starting receiver for us. Bryce McCoy injured his elbow last week against Hot Springs, so Maddox was our backup quarterback last year as a sophomore. Went through the whole season playing quarterback, and so it wasn't new to him, but it's been a while. And so he did a really good job of managing the game, going through just running our offense. He's kind of been battling a slight shoulder injury since Camden, and I know you can't probably tell it with how he played Friday night, but going into the game, we were expecting to be able to run the ball and kind of ground pound a little bit more, just to kind of help him out with his reads and make the game a little bit more simple for him, and then take a little bit off of his shoulder as well. And then as the game got to, the flow of the game just kind of took over in our situation with having to play from behind a little bit. We were able to throw the ball a little bit more than what we had wanted to, and Maddox did a really good job of handling it. Our receivers did a really good job making plays, and really that's where we had the most success was in the air. And so going into it, that wasn't our true intent. But just the way the game played, that's what ended up happening.
That's right. So we just saw a big touchdown by number 1, and that's Braden Wagner, right?
Braden Wagner, yeah.
So let's talk about Wagner a little bit. He had a great game, obviously.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about just a little bit Wagner. We saw a touchdown from him.
Yeah, Wagner is a senior receiver for us. He also is our safety on defense. He overall probably played the best game out of anybody Friday night, being able to go both ways. Made a huge just had a huge offensive production game, 3 touchdowns, just playmaker on offense, and then flipped around on defense and did a great job as well. I think he led us in tackles on the defensive side of the ball, had to fight through a lot of trash to get to some of those tackles. So just, I'd say our all-around playmaker on the night was probably Braden Wagner, and started us off with that first touchdown.
That's awesome. So what I really liked is how really the defensive line was dominant against a very, very big offensive line of Lake Hamilton, 6A school, as we mentioned earlier. Talk about your defensive line a little bit. I watched Nykeeson Wimberley a lot. You and I talked about this last week. I got to play against Wimberley, be at some college camps with Wimberley, and he is a awesome guy. Talk about Wimberley a little bit. I thought he did a great job of keeping us positive and motivating our guys on the field, and I thought it was his best game doing that. Nykeeson's a veteran. He started since his sophomore year. He got in a little bit as a 9th grader. You mentioned it against when we went to you guys and played at Shiloh. He was a 9th grader back then, so he's been around a while, and he's playing great football right now. Love his mentality, how he's handled himself on the field, just how he kind of carries our team. As we saw a couple times, we just watched the defensive little possession there in the second quarter. We're now in the second quarter highlights, and we're seeing some hard runs right here, but also on that defensive side, what I really liked was, I mentioned Wimberley. Wimberley would wrap up a guy, and the rest of the team would get there. And I know we talked about that last week as we see another touchdown by Wagner again on the screen right there.
Yeah, at this point of the game, Maddox is doing a really good job taking the throws, making his reads quick and getting the ball out of his hands. And right there, we were able to find Braden Wagner again. Wagner's one of those guys that when we need to play, we know that he can step up and make it, and he really proved it on Friday. And so had his best game offensively, one of his best games defensively also. But, 2 big catches right there by Braden Wagner for 2 touchdowns. Really feeling good about how we're moving the football. We were able to move the football on the ground a little bit, and then we took our shots when we need them and connected on our shots.
So we just saw a kick by Molinari, your kicker, and I mean he's a beast. I'm not gonna lie. He kicked a field goal earlier in the game or later in the game.
Later in the game, yeah.
He made all of his extra points. Talk about Molinari a little
bit. Seth, man, he's one of those kids that kickers, they're not part of the main meat and potatoes of practice a lot of times. They're off to the side kicking, and sometimes they kind of get lost in practice, but Seth's not one of those guys. He's a part of practice all the way through, and then he just perfects his craft. He's one of those kids that you can rely on in the kicking game. His legs have gotten stronger to where he can kick it further. We feel good about his field goal distance and how accurate he is. He's just one of those guys that it's nice to have a really good kicker to put the ball out there when you need it.
We just saw Finley at the quarterback position, not a receiver right now. He isn't afraid to get on his feet a little bit and run. Talk about how you can use him really as a dual threat in this game.
And that's the thing with Maddox. He's a really good athlete. He's pretty quick. He knows when to tuck the ball and run, and he showed that Friday as well. He did a really good job of being able to escape the pocket and get downfield and just get the yards that you can get and move on to the next play. He did a really good job of extending drives, extending plays with his legs. Number
28 on defense. I want to talk about him a little bit. Mention his name again.
Yeah, Skylar McClure.
That's right.
Skylar McClure. He plays. He's our defensive end. He started as a sophomore last year for us. And then this year he also flips over and plays some tight end for us. Does a really good job both sides of the ball. We've got quite a few players that are flipping around and playing both ways. Skylar McClure is one of those. Quintavion Morris, an outside linebacker, comes over and plays fullback for us. We talked about Braden Wagner. And then Orion Roberts is also a corner, and he comes over and plays receiver some.
So Skylar McClure, if I'm not wrong, he had a touchdown earlier in the season.
He did. He's had 2 actually.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns, and obviously he starts at defensive end.
Yeah.
That is a very hard thing to do, to play both ways, especially at a position that is running that much. How conditioned are your guys? I mean, they're running hard.
Yeah, and so I think one of the biggest things that has shown that is the past 2 weeks, well, the past 3 weeks, the whole non-conference season, we've gone against teams that, they've got guys going one way, and we've got 5 or 6 that are going 2 ways. And I feel like we kind of ran out of gas that first game, and there were some other factors with that. But last week against Hot Springs, we did not. I thought we outlasted them. And then Lake Hamilton, they had some guys that were cramping up throughout the game, and those guys are only going one way pretty much. They had a couple that would kind of rotate in on the other side of the ball, but we're asking more of our guys, and so I thought our guys were pretty much start to finish. We're at full speed for the course of the game. I know we sure weren't cramping up, so I think that where we're at as a team right now is we're pretty conditioned.
So learning from this game, and we have an open week this next week. We'll talk more about that later. Yeah. What have y'all learned about this game? All 4 quarters of play. It was a tough fought game. It was a good game of football. Touch a little bit on what y'all have learned of just some film that you've watched a little bit.
Yeah, the biggest thing is comes down to some of those small plays. The competitive spirit is there. And that's one of the biggest things. It's one of the hardest things to create from a coach's perspective, and we've got the competitive spirit, and that's what we've just got to play a little bit more discipline in some individual areas. Just with our reads, with whatever we've got installed that week, just our scheme of what to do, just playing a little bit more discipline in some areas will make a big difference in the long run in the overall scheme of the game.
Yeah, so what I really liked, you talked about the Badgers really are competitive. They love their football. They love being competitive. They love finishing out their games. What I really liked is whenever the defense was on the field, the offense was on the sideline hyping up the crowd. It was mostly your O-linemen. And so that's something we got to see from the press box. Carson Carrozza leading that charge, as always.
Yeah,
but
no doubt.
It was also every single one of them on the bench, just getting the crowd hyped. Talk about your leadership with really the competitive side of things. Let's just talk about that a little.
Yeah, so, it's really led by our seniors. It always is. Your culture is always what your senior group is. And our guys right now have done a really good job of motivating and encouraging each other. You know, we've always feel like we've had that, but it's just even more so now than it's been in the past. And you know, our seniors do a great job of encouraging those younger guys and motivating each other and staying energetic throughout the game. You know, we were down quite a bit at one point in the game, and you know, you wouldn't have thought it on the sideline. You know, we knew the sense of urgency had to be there, but our guys are still encouraging. We're together. There was not anybody turning their back on each other, and you know, we don't deal with that, but you know, our guys never hung their head one bit. You know, it was just let's go out and play, and let's go execute. Let's go do what we do, and we'll put ourselves in a position to be in an all right situation at the end of the game. You know, before the game started, I told them it was going to be a 4-quarter game. You're going to have to play 4 quarters of good football to win this game, and that's really what it come down to. I don't think we played 4 quarters of good football, but we did play 4 quarters of great effort. And so, you know, there's a lot of things to improve on and build on.
For sure, and playing against a really good 6A team, coming from a really good 6A conference, and the Badgers did not hang their head one bit. They kept fighting, and it was a good football game.
It was.
But I want to now look into the players of the week from the Lake Hamilton game. So we have on offense, we have junior quarterback and receiver Maddox Finley. We've hit on him a little bit, but let's talk about Finley just a little bit more.
Finley came out. You know, I know going into it we weren't expecting to really throw the ball just a ton. Given the situation, we ended up asking him to. He did a great job at completing 73% of his passes, over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then he also was able to tuck the ball and get his first down and extend plays with his legs. He's got us a 2-point conversion. Just really overall had a huge night offensively, as well as he was the guy that batted the ball back in on the onside kick. Just a really good headsy play by him. And just I thought his execution over the course of the night was very, very good.
Moving on to defense, obviously we saw this guy on both sides of football, but earning this week's Defensive Player of the Week, senior defensive back Braden Wagner. Let's talk about Wagner some more. Yeah,
well, I know we talked about him, but overall on the night, you know, he was the best defense player that stood out to us. Just what was asked of him on defense, the way he was able to go and make plays and was able to fight through a lot of the trash that Lake Hamilton gave him. You know, he took on a lot of things and still made the plays, and we really needed him to. He led us in tackles. Just really was our best player overall Friday night in the game.
Now moving on to special teams, we have sophomore, which is huge, a sophomore winning this award, linebacker Carson Brawley.
Yeah, Carson, he's a sophomore. He plays middle linebacker for us on defense, and then he's part of all of our special teams. Really thought he had his best game. Really did a good job on Friday night, you know, with our kickoff return, and then also our kickoff team. Made some tackles, had some great blocks. Did a really good job overall, just our best special teams player of the week.
Before we move on to the Badger Spirit Award, I want to talk about what the Badger Spirit Award really is. I know we hit on it a little bit more, but can you kind of explain more of what the Badger Spirit Award is?
Yeah, it's somebody that goes above and beyond to support our program that you know, might not really get recognized, but it's somebody that just puts our program and our team, our players above their own self. And our Badger Spirit Award this winter is Michaela Moore. She's our water girl. She came to me in the off season and said that she wanted to be our water girl next year if we could use her, and absolutely. And she does a great job. She's so sweet and respectful, and she's just wants to do whatever it takes to make us better. And she does a really good job of being our water girl this year, and she makes sure that we're well hydrated and make sure everything's taken care of on the sideline. And you know, we talked about, you know, our conditioning. We haven't been cramping up, but sometimes that's due to lack of water and hydration, and she makes sure we're taken care of.
That's right. That y'all really are above any other team I've seen in the hydration and not cramping and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And what's so important about the water girl manager's position is, I mean, I had my manager in high school. She followed me here, played college football, and she was still my manager, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just a cool relationship to have.
Yeah.
And it's a great little award to give out to Michaela, so congratulations, Michaela. I want to look around the conference from this past week, the 4A7, and we have the 4A7 results right here. This is week 2. We've played 3 games, but it's week 2. We have Malvern and Stuttgart 48-38, Ashdown and Hope 28-14, Dardanelle and Nashville 44-37. Magnolia and Bauxite 38-22. Center Point, Fountain Lake 38-24. We got the rest of those games right there. And obviously we have the Lake Hamilton and Arkadelphia game. We still learned a lot from that game. Not obviously the outcome we wanted, but I kind of want to retrack a little bit. And let's go to our player interview, actually. We got to interview this week senior linebacker Reese Campbell. Let's talk about Reese just a little bit before.
Yeah, Reese, he's a senior linebacker. He's a returning starter for us in our linebacking core. He also plays in some special teams situations, but just an overall great guy. I mean, great student in the classroom. I think he's got a 2930 ACT, just a guy that's going to do big things in life. Does a really good job of setting the tone for our defense. He's consistent. He's a guy that you can rely on to make plays, and overall just a great person for us, great senior leader.
We'll head to Arkadelphia High School as we listen to this interview.
Hi guys, I'm here with Reese Campbell, number 0 for the Arkadelphia Badgers. Reese, how long have you been playing football, and what do you like most about it?
I've been playing football since my 5th grade year, so this will be my 7th year playing football. And I would say my favorite part is the camaraderie, the brotherhood, kind of being together.
All right, next, Reese, what is your favorite part of Friday nights at Badger Stadium?
My favorite part is whether it's me making the play or one of my teammates, but just hearing the crowd erupt and cheer for the Badgers.
As we continue into your senior season, what are some goals you have set for yourself and your team on and off the field?
I think off the field, me and for my team, I want to push my guys in the weight room and conditioning and things like that and try to be the best shape we can be. And then on the field, I mean, we've been undefeated in conference for a few years now, so I want to keep that streak alive. And again, we've made it to the playoffs a few years in a row and have come up short. And so this year, I'm trying to make it all the way and win the state championship.
As a senior linebacker, what is your role on the field, and how does that transfer to off the field?
As an upperclassman and as a linebacker, on the defense, you're expected to, call all the plays, be kind of the head of the defense, point stuff out that you see, kind of let your guys know. And that sets you up for a leadership role. You have to know not only your position, but you have to know what other people are supposed to do and hold them accountable. And so that helps you be a leader outside of football.
All right, Reese, pop quiz time. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You have to answer instantly.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
What is your favorite soda?
Dr. Pepper.
College football team.
LSU.
Pre-game ritual.
I listened to Lana Del Rey before games.
Chocolate bar.
The cookies and cream Hershey's.
Go-to Sonic order.
Chocolate milkshake and mozzarella sticks.
Hi guys, I'm here with Reese Campbell. Number
Some
0
great answers right there. I love the pregame ritual question. He listens to Lana Del Rey before.
Whatever gets him in the mood and ready. Whatever locks him in.
That's right. We see how competitive the Badgers is, and we know now why.
That's right. That's it.
That's really good. Thank you, Millie at Arkadelphia, for that. Millie Babb did that for us. And now I want to go into the 4A standings, 4A7 standings to be more specific. As we see right here, we have Malvern right there at the front. They are 3-0. I don't know who they've really played. You know more of that. But obviously, we haven't started conference play yet. So they're kind of just off of the overall. Arkadelphia played 2 5A teams and a 6A team. That's kind of what we know. But we see the standings right there, obviously subject to change as we go into conference. But now I want to look at this week in the 4A7. So this week, we don't have a lot of teams playing, really just about 4 games going on in the 4A7. Y'all can see right there, Ashdown travels out of town. Fountain Lake is at Cutter Morningstar. They play on Thursday. Murfreesboro plays Genoa Central, and Haskell Harmony Grove is at Jessieville. And obviously you see Arkadelphia, Bauxite, Malvern, and Nashville all have open weeks this week, okay? So now we see that Arkadelphia has an open week. Let's talk about how this open week looks for Arkadelphia. What are y'all's plans to kind of get ready for conference play in 2 weeks?
Yeah, so we pretty much use this week to, 1, recover, and then 2, work on and fix some of the things that we need to improve on coming out of our non-conference schedule. Today, we also play a JV game, our first JV game against Prescott, and so we're excited to get some more guys on the field and give them an opportunity to prove themselves and get better. And then, if we've got injuries, we nurse those injuries, and then we're going to compete. The biggest thing I think we need right now is to just live reps. And so that's one of the biggest thing that we'd work on this week is getting some more live reps against each other, getting some good action. We don't play this week, so we're just going to focus on us and get better.
That's great. So Arkadelphia got an opportunity this preseason to play a 5A team, another 5A team, and then a 6A team. I want to talk about what y'all have learned from playing bigger competition in classification. Talk about how that is going to help y'all for the rest of conference.
Yeah, football's football. It doesn't really matter the classification, but what does matter a little bit is the depth, and then the size is a little bit different than what we see. And so just I think that it sets our mindset a little bit higher going into our conference. You know, the teams that we play are good programs, they're good teams, they're well-coached teams, and so when you play good teams, it exposes your weaknesses a little bit clearer than whenever you play teams that aren't as good. And so I feel like we've got a really good idea on things that we've got to improve on. We've got to play better on third down. We've got to be disciplined with our eyes, with our reads. We've got to, offensively, we've got to sustain blocks better. We've got to, just overall execute better in some areas. And a lot of it comes down to just getting reps and playing football is really what it comes down to. But I think that, going through our non-conference schedule, I think it's prepared us and battle-tested us for what we're about to see going into our conference, and that's the most exciting part. We want to be considered one of the best programs in the state, and the only way to do that is to play good competition. And so, that's why we do what we do. Our kids are ready and ready to get back into conference play and get after it. We're excited about what we've got ahead.
Ready to see the Badgers really. I think they're going to dominate this year. That's just me. I'm biased, Badger fans. And I'm excited to see the Badgers dominate in the 4A7 this year and really the 4A classification. But obviously we don't have a game this week, so that means we won't have a show next week. And the Badgers will open up conference play in Nashville September 27th. Away game, classification conference game. So that should be good. If you can't come to the game, come watch the broadcast at ArkadelphiaBadgerTV.com. We'll have the game there for y'all. Dr. Root and I will be commentating for y'all. But I'm excited to watch the Badgers play September 27th. No game this week, next week in Nashville. Should be a great game, Coach.
It will be. It always is. Anytime that the Badgers and the Scrappers get together, it's going to be a hard-fought game. This year we're expecting it to be no different. Having to go over to their place. Their stadium's a tough stadium to get a win in, and so we know we've got to be prepared. We've got to be ready. We've got to have a mentality about us that go over there and execute and be a physical football team. And so we're excited about it. One thing that we like to talk about is good football teams win on the road. If you want to win a state championship, you got to win on the road. State championships aren't won at your own stadium, so you got to be able to travel well, and historically we've been able to do that. So I'm excited to see this team go do that this time also.
That's right. Well, the Badgers' road to a conference championship and the road to the Rock, obviously we're not looking too far ahead, but
we got to worry about 1 week at a time.
One week at a time.
We don't really talk about the future of that far. We just try to worry about 1 week at a time.
That's right. The most important game is the next one, right?
That's right.
That's great. Well, thank you for joining us this week on Inside Badger Football. It's been great. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks, and go Badgers, Coach.
Go Badgers.
Inside Badger Football is brought to you by Bell Wealth Services, Welch Funeral Home, Wingfield Properties, Southern Bancorp, Southwest Sporting Goods, Turner, Rogers, Manning, and Plyler, Taylor King Law, Trinity Temple Assembly of God, Doctors Rob and Gary Rucker, Eccles, Thompson, and Kneebone CPA, South Central Connect, Java Primo, Southwest Auto Group, R&T Dixon Enterprises, Ludwig's Bakery, the law offices of Gina White, Patterson Federal Credit Union, Batson Signs, Print Mania, Scott Bird DDS, Sexton Law Firm, Chad Kesterson Shelter Insurance, Chicken Express, Pediatrics Plus, and Providence Veterinary Care. Inside Badger Football is produced weekly by the Rogers Department of Communications at Ouachita Baptist University and the Ouachita Sports Digital Network.